Today's topic is volume of a cylinder. The volume of a cylinder is the product of the height and the area of the base. And the formula for that is volume equals pi times the radius squared times the height. So if you look over at our picture to the right here, your radius is the distance halfway across the base of the cylinder, which is the circle, and your height is how tall it is. So we're going to use both of those measurements today to calculate the volume. We'll see that with a couple examples. So let's look at our first example here. Directions tell us to find the volume of the cylinder and to use pi equals 3.14. So you want to pay close attention to your directions. It's going to tell you whether you're using the pi button on the calculator. If it's going to tell you if you're using 3.14, and it's also going to tell you where to round to if that's the case. So to get started, we'll need our formula. And let's label what we're using. The 3 centimeters is the radius. That's the distance halfway across the circular base. So that's going to be our radius. And the 4 centimeters is how tall it is. That's going to be our height. So plugging those in, looking for our volume. The question told us that our pi is 3.14, so we can put that in for pi. So we're looking for our volume. The question told us that pi is 3.14, so we can put that in for pi. Our radius we said was 3 centimeters, and that's squared, and our height is 4 centimeters. Remember your PEMDAS rules, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. You're going to want to make sure you do the exponent, the 3 squared first. 3 squared, or 3 times 3, is going to be 9. And I'm going to keep it in parentheses and bring down everything else so I don't lose anything. And now this is all just multiplication, so I can multiply straight across. You can use your calculator for that, or remember you might have to do it the long way as well, so don't forget to practice your long multiplication. So plugging it into my calculator, I see that I get 113.04 centimeters cubed. Moving on to example 2, I see that this time they want us to use the pi button on our calculator to find our answer. So we're going to start with our equation again. And we're going to label our data. The 6 inches is going to be our radius, that's halfway across the base circle. And our height this time is going to be the 10 inches. Let's start by plugging everything in. We're going to leave pi in our equation for right now. Our radius, like we said, was 6 inches, and that's squared. And our height is 10 inches. Remember your PEMDAS rules. We want to do the 6 squared first, so 6 times 6 is 36. So I'm going to bring everything down. Make sure I put that 36 in. Finally, I'm going to do my multiplication here. 36 times 10 would be 360. Oops, don't forget your pi. And that's in inches cubed. And so lastly, we can type in this 360 times pi into our calculator. And we should get 1,130.973355. It goes on for a while. And this is where you'd look back at your directions to see if it had somewhere to round to. Ours doesn't, so I'm just going to leave it rounded to the nearest hundredths. And it's inches cubed for our unit. Moving down to the exercises, the directions tell us this time we're going to use pi equals 3.14 for both 1 and 2. So we'll start with our equation. Volume equals pi radius squared times the height. And our radius is going to be the 2 feet, and our height is going to be the 1 feet this time. So plugging that in, volume equals 3.14 times 2 feet squared times 1 foot. Remember to do your PEMDAS, your exponents would be first. So 3.14, 2 squared would be 4. And I'm bringing down my 1 foot. And so now it's just multiplication from left to right. So 3.14 times 4 feet squared times 1 foot. Plugging that into my calculator, I get 12.56. And our unit is cubic feet. For number 2, starting with my equation, our radius is going to be the 2 centimeters, and our height is going to be 18 centimeters. And again, we're using pi equals 3.14. Starting with our exponents, we're going to bring down the 3.14. 2 squared would be 4 centimeters. And bring down the 18 centimeters. And again, now it's just multiplication from left to right. So in my calculator, I get 226.08, and it's cubic centimeters for our unit. Now for 3 and 4, the directions are a little bit different. It's telling us to leave your answer in terms of pi. So that just means we're not going to do anything with the pi. We're going to leave pi right in our answer, and I'll show you what that means. So before we get started, we're going to start with our equation as usual. But we got to take a look at these pictures. They're a little different than the ones we've had so far. These ones have what we call diameters. So diameters go all the way across the circle. So the distance all the way across, where radius was halfway across. So in order to convert these into radiuses, we just need to cut them in half. So our radius, if our diameter is 8 centimeters, that makes our radius 4 centimeters. And 20 is still going to be our height. So we're going to plug that into our equation. We're going to leave the pi, just like our directions tell us to. Our radius, like we just found out, is 4 centimeters. And our height is 20 centimeters. So we're going to do our exponent first. 4 squared is going to be 16 centimeters. And we're going to bring down the 20. So we're going to do the multiplication between the 16 and the 20 next. And that's going to give us 320. And we want to make sure we have pi in our answer. And then our unit comes last, so centimeters cubed for this one. So 320 pi centimeters cubed. That's what it looks like when you leave your answer in terms of pi. Now for number 4, same thing. We'll start with our equation, pi r squared times the height. And again, we have a diameter this time. The 20 feet goes all the way across, so our radius would be half of that. Our radius would be 10 feet. And our height is 20. So plugging these in, leaving pi as pi, just like the directions tell us to do. Our radius now is 10 feet squared, and our height is 20 feet. Calculating our exponent first, we're going to have 100 feet, and we're bringing down the 20 feet. And then we're going to multiply 100 times 20 to give us 2,000. Remember, we still have our pi here. And our unit is cubic feet. All right, so now you're going to try a few on your own with the practice problems, and make sure you email your teacher if you have any questions.